Welcome to Westmoreland Bulldogs, a podcast. I'm Callahan Marshall here with Mr. Gianni Notaro. He is the Social Studies Department Chairperson. He also teaches a lot of classes, so tell us what you teach.
All right, so I teach AP U.S. History. I also teach AP World History. And then I teach U.S. Regents History. And then my two fun elective classes that I teach are my Film Studies class and also a Current Events and Debate class, which is not running this year, but is also a lot of fun. Okay,
so speaking of fun, you have a lot of fun in your classes. I know a lot of the students love you because you make your classes interesting. One of the ways you're doing that is you're bringing the world into your classroom. So tell us how you're doing that.
Okay. Well, if you could say some more nice things about me first, that'd be great. But yeah, that's one of the things that I always try to do is I kind of view teaching as, I try to always picture myself as like, what was I like when I was 14, 15, 16, et cetera? Like, what would get me interested and involved in, whatever the heck is being talked about, and try to just go from there. So I always really love to incorporate technology as much as I possibly can. So virtual reality, VR technology in particular is something that the district has been very supportive of me implementing inside of my classroom. And Mr. Mig and Mr. Siri have been able to acquire a number of VR headsets for my classroom that I get to utilize, which are great. So I've come up with a number of different kind of applications for them inside of the classroom. And do you want me to run through?
Oh yeah, okay. List those off.
So yeah, one of the most fun things that I do is it's called Draw Something. It's a review game. So I have two students that are in VR headsets. One's in the back of the classroom, one's in the front of the classroom, and the rest of the students are in the middle. And I give each of the kids a list of vocab terms. And they both are in the VR headsets, and they're using a program called Google Tilt Brush, which allows them to paint and draw in 3D. And I have the headsets mirrored to the televisions in both the front and back in the classroom, so the kids in the middle can see exactly what the students in the VR headsets see themselves. So I have...
So it's kind of like charades.
It's basically, yeah, it's VR charades is the easiest way to put it. So they try to draw a visual representation of the vocab term that I gave to them, and then all the kids have to guess what the vocab term is. Then when that kid is done, they flip around their desks and look at the kid in the back of the classroom who's then drawing another term. It's like a game of ping pong, basically. And they're trying to get through the list of vocab terms as fast as they possibly can. And I set like a time. And if the class can beat the time that I set of getting through the entire list, then they get 5 points on their essay or their assessment at the end of the end of the unit. So that's one of the fun applications that I have for it. The other one that I love to do is Google Earth VR, which is great because it literally allows you to go anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that is really cool. And in your classes, because you talk about obviously a lot about history and other countries.
Yep.
So bringing them there, that is like how better way
you can't replicate that because it's one thing, especially in my global studies class, it's one thing to show them a picture or talk about this incredible piece of architecture or building or whatever.
Yeah, I used to just pause 1 second. When I was in school, this was 13 years ago, we had paperback books, and that's the closest we got to a country.
Yes.
Is the picture in the book.
Yeah, so thankfully we've, progressed a little bit more past that because that was the same thing for me. We used to just, put up a slideshow and oh, check out this thing. All right, that's a cool picture, but you don't really get the feel of it. So we talk about skyscrapers and stuff and just impressive architecture in general throughout the course of global studies. But we talk about the Burj Khalifa Tower in Dubai, which is almost 3,000 feet tall. It's the biggest skyscraper in the world. And through Google Earth VR, it can actually let the kids see a 3D, a 360-degree photo of exactly what the Burj Khalifa looks like. It's people that have taken pictures themselves in the panorama mode. Then when you put on the VR headset, you feel like you're there, you're on the ground level. You look up and you see this massive structure in front of you, and it's almost like you're there. So it's as close as you could possibly get to actually traveling, to these places.
And for a lot of kids, because I was this child in school, I needed to experience. I was not good at memorizing any of the words or anything, but I needed something hands-on.
Yes.
And that's how I would learn well. And I think now, because we are battling technology a little bit these days, I think this is an awesome idea, first of all. And it gives them a different way to look at things, and it helps them remember what they're learning.
Exactly. And yeah, like there is always that kind of battle between like how much technology, like is too much technology, is it good or is it bad? But like you got to meet the kids where they're at, and they are obviously using technology on a daily basis. So actually it reminds me of a quote from Catherine the Great, but she said like, you know, there's winds that are blowing across and are bringing change, and it either gives you imagination or a headache. So for me, you want to utilize all these like pieces of technology to be more imaginative and actually bring the stuff into the classroom in a positive way where the teacher can actually control it instead of it devolving into like, you know, educate or technology being a major distraction. So I try to think of it that way. Like if you use this stuff the right way, it can be a major benefit to you and your students, and I try to do that as much as possible.
When did you start utilizing virtual reality?
So probably about 2015, 2016, because I bought one for myself for just home use because I thought they were super cool, and I'm like a dork, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to try this out at home. And it was so amazing. Like I was having, like my grandparents, I'd have them come over and be like, check this out. So I had like my 80-year-old grandfather like in Google Tilt Brush, you know, trying to draw pictures and then sending him into Google Earth VR, and he's like, this is the most amazing thing he's ever seen in his life. So that's what we would do. Like anytime my friends came over, like, oh, we got to try out the VR headset. So just like their response to it, I was like, I got to find a way to get this into my classroom. And Mr. Siri secured the first VR headsets that I got back in 2016, set up all the equipment in my room, got me the PCs that were necessary to run it as well, and I just started implementing it from there. So it's been about like 7 or 8 years that I've been using it inside of the classroom, and it's just super cool. It's a lot of fun.
Do you remember the first day you started using them?
Yes.
So how did the kids react to that?
Without question, the kids just like lose their minds the first time that they were in VR. Like I think like kids today, they're a little bit more like jaded. They're a little bit more used to it. But the first students that I had back in 2016, they were completely blown away by what they were experiencing. But the funniest thing that I always end up seeing is kids that go to Google Earth VR. The very first thing that they want to see is not the Taj Mahal or the Eiffel Tower.
Cool.
They want to go and see what their house looks like in VR. So they go to like, you know, Bartlett Road in Westmoreland and check out exacally what their house
Something they
looks
go
like.
to every single day.
Yes, but like they without fail, they're like, oh, go down the street. I want to see so-and-so's house. So, yeah, they love to do that. And then all right, then we'll check out the historical sites, but they got to check out their own backyards first.
Now, do you think it's helped them learn?
Yeah, I think so. They do remember those experiences, and it just kind of it personalizes it for them and makes it more tangible, something that they can actually like better understand. When you see these structures in front of you, I think you can better connect to the historical material, especially with global studies. Because like global studies itself can be like kind of a dry course. It's like rinse and repeat of how these different like civilizations and empires rose and fell. But you can actually go there and see some of the impressive architecture that they've built. They remember it a lot better, and then when it comes time for their state assessments, they're able to recall that stuff in a more meaningful way, which just leads to better results overall, which is great.
Yeah. So, did you get more headsets this year?
I did. I just got the latest one, which is the MetaQuest 3, which is Facebook's parent company. But they just released that one, and like the resolution's better than any headset that's out there. The tracking is even better. And now it's wireless as well. So like the original headsets that I got, you had to be like tethered to the computer, and they're called lighthouses. You mount those in the classroom, and that like picks up the VR headset and gets the signal and all that stuff. The new headsets like the MetaQuest 3, you don't need even a computer. Everything runs off of the headset itself, and it's wireless. It's rechargeable batteries. You can literally walk around your entire classroom in this thing, and it will track the entire way. So it's super impressive. The technology is getting just like insane. So it's really cool where everything's headed.
Which makes learning a lot more interesting. So speaking of that, I don't know many teachers who do use VR in their teaching. I'm sure some other schools do it, but I don't hear much of it. So being a teacher, you're interested in VR. Why is it important to keep up with the times, especially when it comes to teaching?
Just in general, like you need to understand like what world the kids are living in. If you don't, you start to kind of fall behind the wayside, and you're just not going to be as effective as a teacher. So you need to use these things and bring them into the classroom in a positive way. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to connect with your kids. Because really, like, the whole point of teaching, when you really, like, get down to the bare bones of it, it's the relationships that you build with the students. And if you're able to do that using different mediums like VR or some of the other stuff that I utilize in my classroom, if you can connect it to the students, make it relevant to their lives, make it interesting, then they will remember it, they'll do better on their tests, and they'll also just take something away from your class. They'll just enjoy it more overall. So that's kind of my major goal, is making those connections with students, and obviously using technology as one of those ways to do that.
Well, you do a really good job, because I mean, I wish I had this stuff in high school. I don't even know if VR was available then. I don't know. I graduated in 2010.
It really started to like hit the, like as a consumer product, like 2015, 2016. So that's when you first saw these iterations of it. But yeah, I wish I had it in high school as well.
Yeah. Do you find attendance is better because of it? Like, I feel like, you know, as a student, if I had VR, I'd like, want to come to class because it's interesting.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like, you have kids kind of clamoring at the end of each unit that I finish up. Like, all right, can we, like, bust out the VR headsets again? It's like, yeah, we'll get to it. Let's finish up, you know, some other stuff that we need to finish up, but we will get to, you know, our review games. So, yeah, definitely kids are more engaged. You know, I usually, thankfully, hear nice things from kids about my classes, which is great. So I really appreciate that. But it just, it helps with attendance, helps with engagement, and performance as well. It's all those things kind of combined together.
So you'll continue to use them?
Oh, yeah. Yep, for sure. Yeah, I don't see VR going away
No.
Anytime soon. So,
No.
yeah, definitely implement that as much as I possibly can.
And I can't believe it's still a pretty big thing. I've used VR too, and it's very interesting. It's just so realistic. Like when you put those goggles on, it's like you're there. It is insane for those who have never used it before. Like, you feel like you're in whatever game that you're playing, and it can get a little crazy sometimes depending on what you're playing because it's so realistic.
That's one of the terrifying things for me is like kids get lost in VR. Like, they'll start wandering around the room thinking that they're actually there because it does like play tricks with your brain. So like it's kind of nerve-wracking for me sometimes when I have the kids in there because I need to like monitor them, make sure they're not running into a wall or anything like that. But I also let the kids come down during some of their study halls or when they have a free period to just play some of the video games that I have in VR as well. As long as all their work's done and they're caught up with everything, I don't mind if they stop down and play some of the, not educational-based ones, but just some of the actual games that I also have on the VR platform, which is a lot of fun to see because they get super into that too. So.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. This is a really fun way to learn. It kind of changes things up throughout the day for the kids too, so you know, makes them want to come to school as well. So keep those ideas flowing, Gianni.
You got it. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.